Mahfuz, again, coming to you. You and I connected because of a post of yours on LinkedIn, which is very atypical, but that is what we need, which is talking about the realities of life when it comes to interviewing. And again, it was a heartfelt post about going through 2 rounds of interviews and finally not getting the job, right? But talk about.
Yeah.
I mean that is mentorship. I'll be honest with you, right? I mean, you have just opened the doors for others to be themselves and saying it's okay. It's not about you, right? I mean, there could be 101 reasons why you didn't get the job, but the journey on. So talk a little bit about how you got past that inner critic of yours saying, should I be posting this or not? To now opening pathways where you're being more open and helping others.
Sure. I'll be honest with you, Ashwin. Mentorship is often talked about as one-to-one, real time. Like, we're speaking, the four of us here.
Yeah.
Like, it's very visual. One step up would be meeting in person. But I would like to present a different angle. You see, anyone who makes content, and that content is thoughtful enough that it's teaching someone something, really you're mentoring them. And the same is true if I go off and read a book by someone I consider reputable in the industry, they are mentoring me. They don't have to have ever met me, but the book they wrote for me, I'm learning from them as if they are speaking directly to me in person. So mentorship, I think, is different now. And it's only in the last, 30 years that it could be like this, because before that, we didn't have the internet. So mentorship has to be one-to-one, right? Or maybe read a book. Okay, fine. But now, if I go and post something on LinkedIn and someone finds some value in that, well, that's profit, because I only have to post it once. And then if 300 people see it, I've multiplied my presence by 300-fold. I don't have to go to 300 people individually and tell them the same thing over and over again. But sometimes when people message you, it does feel like that. You're saying the same thing over and over. But that's just occupational hazard, I guess. As for the posting, should I be posting this on LinkedIn? You mentioned, I think, you said it takes courage to post what I did. Just to give context, all I posted was this like nice story on LinkedIn. Like, I met a guy at university. A couple of years later, I met him again. He worked at a cybersecurity company. I'm trying to get into cybersecurity. Guess what, guys? He got me an interview, and then it felt amazing, and the company was wonderful. And then I did a second interview, and then they called me back, and guess what? I didn't get the job. And I posted that because, like Instagram, on LinkedIn, people show their best sides, right? You're not going to show the failures all the time, and that's fine. That's not an attack. That's human nature. Again, you show your best side. But I posted that, and it didn't take courage. It's just an observation, because I know everyone goes through it. Everyone. I don't know. I know people who work at Microsoft and Facebook, and they went through 5 interviews with Microsoft and failed. And on the 6th one, they got a job. So if they fail, obviously, people like me or anyone else, of course we can fail. And that post was just there to remind people that you might see all these people say, I'm proud to announce I got this job. I'm proud to announce I got this opportunity. I want to thank everyone in the world for being wonderful people. Yes, but they haven't shared their failures. But there's probably been failures there. So what you want to do is not be disheartened thinking, oh, look, all these people are successful and I'm a failure. That's not true. You've maybe reached one dead end, but these people have reached dead ends. They just didn't share it with you. And then they share the success story at the end. So your success story is coming. And that's all I was sharing. It doesn't take courage, because I know I'm going to get a great opportunity at some point. And after I posted that, a few days later, I actually accepted a job offer. So it even worked for me, right? So there's no shame in meeting a roadblock. This is part of life. And you know how they say it's not really rejection, it's redirection. It's true. You're going to find something, and people need to just be reminded of that fact sometimes, that you're not a failure. It happens to everyone.
Yeah. Wow. Like I said, I mean, I knew this panel was going to be awesome, but again, I think you guys just reinforcing the diverse thoughts and the diverse ways that we're getting in, and just the accomplishments, right? And what it took to get there. So one final question, again, let's stay with the Mahfuz, right? One piece of advice for somebody breaking or wanting to break into cybersecurity, what would you tell him or her?
I would say there's so much advice I could give. I'll give one because there's other esteemed guests here that can give advice as well. I would say share your journey if you can. So by that I mean, if you're learning Linux, say, "Hi guys, I'm learning Linux today. Today I learned how to move from one directory to another." That doesn't sound like much, but if you share a small thing every day, on LinkedIn, for example, you post about something technical you learned. At some point down the line, you might have applied to a job, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to click on your LinkedIn. Then they're going to see the last 4 months you've been learning all kinds of stuff and talking about it. They're going to be like, you know what, this person's worth interviewing, because obviously they're learning, obviously they're enthusiastic. Now, you could be learning and not sharing that, and nobody will know. You're quietly learning, but nobody will know until you get that certification, which sometimes might not happen. You might not get certified, you might not take an exam. So I would say, as you are learning, talk about your learning. I think Meghan mentioned, Kavisha mentioned, blog about it, talk about it, teach it to others. Teaching also, by the way, reinforces your own learning. So I would say make noise as you learn, because that's how you get noticed.
Awesome. Kavisha, this is right up your alley. So you're already doing that. So again, any piece of advice that you would want to add?
I would say, yeah, similar to that, please contribute. Like if you are learning, right, and if you think it's impactful, if not, right, even though you can contribute, you never know who is looking for that information, right? Keep sharing that. And apart from them, keep exploring this field. It's a really overwhelming, right? So don't settle that, hey, I know this. For example, I started with web application. Now I into API and the cloud as well. So I just keep exploring. I started with cryptography and machine learning, and now I'm doing a web API and cloud. So you can, in future, I might be doing something else as well. So keep exploring. Don't limit yourself. If you are getting offer, that's good. But don't, yeah, this is the only thing. This is the, I would do, web is the only thing. Don't do that. If you are early 20s, right? If you have experience, you can still do that. But the risk taking part might be lesser, right? You can't be, because you have some expertise around it. But if you are early 20s, please keep explore as much. You maybe find something that interests you most. That are
So
the only thing.
the one thing I would add, Kavisha, even if you're not in your 20s, even if no, I mean, I'm serious, right?
I'm
I mean,
20s only, but
no,
the starting
I'm
20s,
yeah. So no,
like college student.
no, but I think your advice holds as much for people with experience, right? And the unlearning and
Yeah,
relearning
of
that needs to
course.
happen is even more
Yeah,
important for
that.
people who quote unquote have experience, because experience, honestly, may not have any relevance today, right? So I think your
Yes.
advice is equally applicable to all demographics and all age groups.
Yeah, both. Like, yeah, both, but some people just limit. I have seen that college pass out, right? They say, okay, I'm into this, I will do for the 20 years. I was like, what? You don't know after 5 years what would be the so keep exploring. You can't just say, like,
Exactly.
I spoke to some of college, so that's why I'm targeting them. The experienced people know almost what has to be done, right? So that's why.
You
So
would be surprised. Unique experience. Again, I'm talking about my age group, but again, I know it's, no,
Ashwin's talking about himself,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, talking about myself. Okay, now can we stop recording? No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's so. I mean, especially with the way things are changing, right? By the hour, by the minute, by the second, right? You can't rely on past experience alone. I think that's the point that I think what you were
yeah.
saying about college students equally applies to people with experience, because that experience honestly may have some relevance or no relevance, or maybe it's fully relevant, right? But you got to keep testing that. So, final pieces of advice for new entrants, Meghan?
I would say don't be afraid to reach out to people, and then in turn make time for those who reach out to you. Because so like I'm still in the job search process. I'm still, kind of going on that pathway. But some of the people who I like have just kind of like talked to, like, again, either on Twitter or, so that's always like kind of funny in a job interview. And they're like, oh, how do you know him? I'm like, well, we talk on Twitter or like something like that. But they've come back months later and been like, hey, like my company now has an open position. Even if they didn't before, it's not always just about getting the job, but it can be a helpful thing. And then if you're expecting to take other people's time, I think that it's fair that like when other people are reaching out to you, it can be, you know, like if you're like, well, I'm so busy, like I'm, you know, doing X, Y, Z, I have all these studies to take care of. I'm also job searching and working, all this stuff. It's easy to be like, well, no, yeah, I can just ignore that kind of thing. But like you've done it. So you should be willing then to go ahead. And even if you don't think that you have a lot to contribute, again, just sometimes people just want to talk and kind of lament about the struggles and, you know, maybe see what you're doing. So I think it's important to go both ways. That network is incredibly valuable. So, and you never know like where you're going to find that key connection. And it could be from someone who's like earlier on their learning path than you are. You know, they might have the connection that ends up making the win for you with a job too. So like, I just think all of that's super valuable.
Wow. Okay. So I think this is power packed. So again, thank you for your time. Again, 3 continents, 4 time zones, but amazing advice. So thank you, Meghan. Thank you, Kavisha, and thank you, Mahfuz.
Pleasure.
Yeah, nice being here.